Hello and welcome to tutorial 71 in this series of tutorials and programs that focus on TradeStation Easy Language. If you're not part of our email list, then please go to markplex.com. That's markplex.com, and I will be happy to let you know when I create new tutorials or programs. So today's tutorial, I was asked by somebody on this list how one would go about creating a simple breakout strategy, and the idea behind this program was to get into a trade when price exceeded the highest high of a certain number of bars or the lowest low of a certain number of bars. And so what I've done is created this program, and you can see I've drawn some lines on the program to sort of indicate the channel. And what it does is, for example, in the short, the red line here is the lowest low of a certain number of bars, and when price crosses over the value of that, or at least the value of what that was the previous bar, then we get into a trade. So you can see if we would just zoom in here, you'll see that this bar went under this value here, and hence we got into a short the next bar. What I've also done is built in a stop, and you can see that is indicated by the green line for the short stop, and the red line below for a long stop, and also a trailing stop, and that's indicated by these cyan lines, as well as creating a target. So let me just go ahead and show you how we would go about doing this. So the first thing we need to do is calculate the highest high and the lowest low. And I'm just going to create a couple of variables called HH and LL. Now, highest high is very easy to find, because we're going to use the highest TradeStation built-in function, and I'm going to say highest high over a certain length. So I think what we'll do is we'll create an input called extreme length, and the lowest low is going to be, again, a TradeStation function, lowest, and again it's going to be extreme length. So I'm just going to copy that. Okay, so we need to just declare those variables, since these are declared variables. And what we'll do is just set their initial values to 0. And we also need the input. And just going to copy that, save some typing. And we'll set that initially to 20, like so. Okay, so we're now calculating the highest high and the lowest low. So if we were to want to see what that looks like on a chart, we could just use the drawing function. Now, I would caution you that when you're using this within a strategy, it's a good way of seeing what's going on, but you definitely want to turn it off when you're running the strategy, because it does use a lot of processing. So what I'm going to do is create another input called draw lines, and the way this is going to work is when it is set to true, we're going to see the lines, and when it is set to false, we're not going to see the lines. So that gives you a really easy way to turn that on and off. So say if draw lines, then begin, and give these names. We're going to call it upper line. We're going to use the TL new reserved word, and what we're going to plot is this bar, date, time, what the high is this bar, and then for each bar we're just going to draw between this bar and the last bar. So we go date 1 bar ago, time 1 bar ago, and HH 1 bar ago, and close round brackets. We can do the same thing for the lower line. So that is going to equal to, in fact, let me just copy this because that would save us a little typing time. Okay, and just going to put in the end. So we need to declare those two variables that we're using to store the references for those lines. So we can do that in here. And also need lower line. Like so. And if we verify that, looks like we're good. So what I'm going to do just to start with is apply that to the chart. So we should be able to see the channels. And I think what I'll also do while we're doing this is we'll just set the color of the this line. So we're going to say TL set color upper line. We'll make that green. And let's set the color of the lower line as well. Lower line, and we'll make that red, like so. Okay, so verify that, and I'm now just going to go ahead and apply that to a chart. And this is the program I developed earlier. This will be available incidentally for download, so you don't need to type this if you don't want to, but you're welcome to do so if you want. So I'm just going to turn that one off, and I'm going to apply the one that we're currently developing. Good, so we can see the lines in the program, and the next thing we need to do is to put in our entries. So we'll do this. We're just going to comment this, and always a good idea to comment your programs. And we're going to say if C close is greater than what the high was, or the high line was 1 bar ago, then buy next bar at market. And if close is less than what the low value LL value was the previous bar, then sell short next bar at market. Okay, so we've now got some entries. Let's just verify that and go back to the chart. Okay, so we can see some entries now, buying and selling, but what we don't have are any stops or targets or trailing stops. So let's add those separately and see how we do that. Okay, so firstly we're going to work on our target, and we're going to base the target on a multiple of the average true range. So we need to calculate the average true range, and I'm going to add that up here. ATR equals average true range. You can see the word there. Just going to double click that, and we need to put in an input, the number of bars over which to do this. So we'll call this ATR length, like so. And so what we need to do is declare the ATR variable, and the program available for download, they may have some of these things in a slightly different order, but shouldn't make any difference, at least in terms of declaring the variables and inputs. So let's set the ATR length. Let's make that initially 14, and we also need to declare some other variables. We're going to have a target ATR. This is going to be the number or multiple of the ATR that we're going to use. So let's set that to 2 to start with. We can change that. We can also optimize that. Okay, so I think we've got what we need there. So let's put in the functionality for the target. Oh, one final thing. I want to create a variable called MP, which is going to store the market position, like so. And again, if we're using a declared variable like that, we actually do need to declare it. Okay, so that is market position. Market position essentially returns 1 if you're in a long position, -1 if you're in a short position. Okay, so if MP equals 1, therefore, in other words, we're in a long position, then sell, and we're going to give this a name so that we can see it on the chart. So we're going to put that in like so. Next bar at, I'm sorry, that should be target long. Okay, and or rather, let's just call it long target to be consistent with the previous program. That's going to be at entry price. This returns the price that we got into the trade, and I like to just put spaces, some spaces in just to make it a little easier. Plus target ATR, that's a variable we declared, times by the ATR, which is the thing that we're creating. And I'm just going to put brackets in around that just to clarify the calculation. And this is going to be a limit order. Okay, so that's the first target for long. We're also going to do one of those for if we're short. So if we're short, MP is going to be -1, and instead of selling, we're going to buy to cover, and this is going to be S target, and it's going to be entry price minus target ATR times ATR, and it's still going to be a limit. So let's verify that and see if we made any errors there. No. So let's look at the chart, and what we should now see is hopefully some targets. You can see we've got a target here and target over here to the left of the chart. Now bear in mind, using the ATR like this is the ATR does vary bar by bar, so the target is going to change, and I'll demonstrate that a little more when we look at the stops. So let's just do that next. Let's set up our stops. Okay, so again, I'm going to add some comments here so we can see what we're doing, and we're going to base the stop on the ATR as well. So we're going to need another user input, and this one we'll call STP ATR, and let's make that 1 to start with. So let's just first of all do a very simple stop, and what we'll say is if MP equals 1, we're in a long position, then sell, and we'll give this a name, call it LSTP, next bar at, and then this is going to be entry price minus STP ATR multiplied by ATR, in other words a multiple of ATR, and this is going to be a stop order. So let's just make sure that we haven't made any errors there. Okay, that's good. And let's do the same thing for our short positions. So this is going to be buy to cover, and we'll call this short S stop or SSTP, and instead of entry price less the multiple of the ATR, we're going to do entry price plus the multiple of the ATR. It's going to press F3, verify that, and we should be good. So if we were to look at the chart, well, let me just delay doing that for a moment, because what I want to do is just show you, give us a visual indication on the chart of where those lines are. So let's Let's do that by using the draw lines again statement. So I'm just going to copy this from here, and then we can just modify it. Okay, so we're going to give these different names, of course. So we'll call this uline STP, and we're going to have date, time, and then we're going to be doing this for the long stop. So let's take this value here and put the same value there, and I think we'll just well, let's just keep these the same color as the other line, and then this can be L line STP, and this is going to show us where the stop is for a short trade. So let's copy this value here, and replace the LL. And need to change the name there as we set the color, L-line STP. Okay, so we need to declare these variables, L-line and U-line STP respectively. So let's just do that at the top here. Set that initially to 0, and U-line stop, set that to 0 like so, and press F3. Oh, and just one final thing I want to do here is I want to combine. I don't want to draw the stop lines. If, for example, we're in a long trade, I don't want to draw stop lines as if we're in a short trade. So what I'm going to do is just modify the statements here, the stop statements, and I'm going to say then begin. And we're not just going to be placing the order, we're also going to be doing the drawing lines. So in this case, we because we're in a long position here, we want to draw the long stops. Okay, and then if we're in a short position, we're going to place this stop order, but we also want to draw the stops for the short, which I think that looks correct. Let me just indent those so we can see a little more clearly, and it's going to put in end. Okay, so sorry about that. So what we're doing here is if we're in a long position, we're placing a stop order, but we're also if draw lines is set to true, then we're also going to be drawing a line which is going to show us where the stop is, and similarly for the short. So let me verify that. Okay, we've got a error here. Okay, we're missing an end statement for this statement here, so I'm just going to add that in. Okay, so I'm going to try verifying that again. Looks like we're good. So if we go to the chart, and we should see those stop lines appearing. So for example, we can see here we're in a short position, and you can see the stop now. Notice how it's getting a little bit further away, and that is because on each bar the ATR is varying. And of course you might not wish that to happen. It would probably be better if the stop, if anything, stayed the same or got a little tighter. So I'm just going to demonstrate how you would go ahead and do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is create a variable called STPL. So if we're long, let's do it up here, of course. So STPL is going to be equal to and we're going to put into there this value here, the entry price minus the multiple of the ATRs. So we can now replace this with STPL. So essentially what we have at the moment is no change. We've just changed the way we've expressed it. I'm going to change it here as well. And here as well. Okay, so at the moment we don't have any difference, but what we actually want to do is say that STPL is always the greater of itself or this calculated value. So we just need to put in a bracket there. So what that's doing is it's looking at this calculated value, and if that calculated value is bigger than the existing STPL, then it will use the new value. However, if the existing value of STPL is bigger than the calculated value, then it sticks with the existing value. And in that way, the STPL can get bigger, but it can't get smaller. Now, there's just one other thing we need to do, and that is we need to reset STPL if we're not in a position anymore. So let's do that here, and we're going to say if market position is not equal to 1, then STPL equals 0. So we're resetting that every time we're not in a position. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the short trades, and we'll just put our reset in here at the same time, and let's call this STPS equals, now this needs to be a big number, as you'll see in a moment, so I'm just going to put that there. And actually, while we're about it, let's just declare these variables. We're going to need to do that anyway, so let's just go up here. I've just copied the values there. I'm just going to format them. So we're going to start initialize STPL as 0, and we're going to initialize STPS as this random large number, which I'll explain in a moment. Okay, so let's do the same treatment that we've done for the long, but we're going to say STPS is equal to, and we're just going to copy this value here, and then we're just going to replace this with the new stop value, and we can do the same thing in our here. Okay, so at the moment there's no change, but what we actually want STP to be is the min list of itself, STPS, or this new calculated value. So in other words, what we're doing is each time we come here, we're saying, okay, is the current value of STPS or the calculate, which is the smallest, which is the minimum, and then choosing that particular one to be the stop. So let me just verify this. Hopefully we don't have any mistakes. They're great. So let's just go back to the chart. And now what you'll see, if we were to look at any of these stops here, that you'll now notice that for example, for a short, the stop gets tighter, but it never moves away, and the same for a long trade. Okay, so to take stock, we've so far calculated the highest high and lowest low lines. We've got some entries set up. We've also built in a target and a stop. The only thing that we need to do now is create a trailing stop. So what I think I'm going to do is do that in a second video, because this is getting a little long, and that will just give me enough time to go through that in detail. So thank you very much.